Hey guys, I'm Craig at Area 419. We have a really interesting video for you today, and before I get into exactly what it is, I want to let you know how we got here. So we just shot, and you'll find it published, we'll put a link to it in the description or the comments, an introduction to and a review of this product. It's the new Vector X from Vectronics. As we had this product coming in and we were preparing to talk about it, we posted some photos and constantly got the questions of how does it compare to the new Leica or the Revic or the SIG that's been on the market for a little while, or, you know, when you're talking glass, you must compare to Swarovski and all these products. So, you know, we know some people in the industry, we have friends with a lot of products, so we wanted to put together what we consider a representative sample of the heavy hitters or the common products in the laser rangefinding binocular space, all in a 10 to 42 configuration. Now, before you get mad at us, we did not include every 10 to 42 laser rangefinder on the market. This is what we consider a very good representative sample. It's not complete. You can save your comments. This is what we're gonna do. So we've got in front of us a Vortex Fury HD with AB, the new Revic LR10b, a SIG 10K, the new EL Range 10 to 42 from Swarovski, the new Leica Geovid Pros, as well as the Vector X. We then took each of these products and graded them in 5 facets, and I'll get into a little bit of what each of these looks like. We graded the glass. Glass is very, very difficult because there's a lot that goes into it. There's brightness, there's resolution, there's color, there's field of view, there's clarity, there's chromatic aberration, but we wanted to, in our opinion, and this is Zach, Nathan, and I spending a couple days over time on our back patio looking at some steel targets we had set at about 724 yards. We were looking at impacts, at the color of the paint that was on the targets, at chromatic aberration as we went from the water line to the shoreline, field of view, full clarity. We tried to look at these on bright days as well as overcast days to get a pretty good picture of what was happening. So we'll give you our thoughts there. And on glass, as many of these go, the difference, especially between the 4 that scored the most highly, the difference in them is really, really small. If we handed you any of those 4 independently and said, go look through them, you'd go, wow, that's pretty good. We then had one that is it's pretty different in glass. There's a pretty heavy hue to it, and I think you guys may know which one that is, as well as another product, the budget product, that still does fairly well, but there's a clear distinction. We also talk about price. We score these 1 to 5. It's kind of based on the average. It's pretty straightforward. We talk about their build. This is how large are they? How do we like the feel of them? So we talk a little bit about build because these are 10 to 42 binos. They're meant to be held, they're meant to be carried around. We talk about the tech that's included. These are laser rangefinding binoculars. For all of them, I'm gonna tell you the lasers were very good. This isn't a measure of how good the laser is, or if it's a certain cloudy environment, or it's raining and your reflective target or non-reflective target is behind a tree or under a shadow. We didn't get into that. The lasers are very good. What we got into is what can they show us? How easy is it to navigate that tech? How well can a user end up taking advantage of that tech product? We also finally gave each one of these what we're calling an X Factor score. These will probably upset you because what we took as an opportunity to say, here's this product. It is better or worse than we thought it would be. It has this cool piece of versatility. There's this cool thought that went into it. Its size and weight package is great. We just picked a number between Zach, Nathan, and I that we thought represented how cool, or what's the X factor, or what's the wow of each good. Here's how the rest of this video is going to go. We have a whiteboard set up here. For each of these products, you're gonna see what the product is, what it costs, its size, its weight, and then we're going to walk through some key points for each of these laser rangefinding binoculars, and finally show you a spider chart, which gives you what we thought the 1 to 5 grades were for each glass, tech, price, build, and X factor for each of the binoculars. At the end, we'll put all 6 spider charts up together. You'll be able to pause and look at them and pick them apart if you like. So, without any further ado, let's dive into this. The first product we're gonna talk about in the video is what we consider our baseline or our least expensive product. It's the Vortex Fury HD 5000 with applied ballistics. They're about $1,500. That's the least expensive thing on the table. It's not a cheap product from a relative standpoint here. This is what we would consider entry level. Now, given that price, we thought the glass was was okay. You know, we consider this fairly average among what we're looking at here. You're not going to get behind these and be blown away by the optical quality, but you're also not going to get behind them and be severely lacking, especially if you are just getting into this game. From a tech standpoint, we consider these pretty middle of the road as well. You know, you're going to get points that'll be your distance and then maybe some version of a correction or slope, you know, whatever you're looking for here. From a build standpoint, the Revic and the SIG are almost identical in form factor, looking at their overall size and overall weight. So we'd put this right down the middle of the road on build. And then as far as X Factor goes, it's a cool product. Nothing in this was a real wow, and that wasn't the point of the Vortex being in this. So from an X factor or from an impression, you just hold it and look through it and how much it gets your heart rate up. We consider this to be a pretty average product as well. So with the Vortex, they make a great product if you're the person that's just getting into this market or doesn't want to spend heavily or simply needs a product that does everything fairly well, and that's your expectation of a laser rangefinding binocular. It's a good one to have in your lineup. The next product we're going to talk about is the SIG Kilo 10K laser rangefinding binocular. This guy's been out for a few years. These are fairly common. You'll see them around firing lines. You'll see them at matches. Price here is the second lowest on the line. You'll typically be able to pick these up just under $2,000, maybe $1,900. So it does fairly well in that category. The next one we're going to talk about is the elephant in the room, basically, and that's glass quality. There's a reputation with the SIGs that the hue or the color of your image is very blue. That is factually the case. Nobody's going to argue that. The reason for that blue is all of these products have a coating over at least the one side that your data and your range and things like that are projected onto. You have to have some sort of coating over clear glass for the projection to stick to or to hit. It has to have some opacity because that's how you see that data or that projection. It just seems that the coating that was used on these for that projection is pretty aggressively blue. That said, if you look past the blue hue, the glass in these really isn't bad. Your resolution's pretty good. It did a lot of things well there. From a glass standpoint, it's going to score a little lower because of that blue tint. Let's talk about tech. Tech is where this thing did well. The laser is very fast. The user interface and the display is quite good. We're gonna have one in the showdown here that we thought was better, but the interface on this was more well featured than most of the products. And given that this thing only has 2 buttons on it, the ability to navigate and use the menu in your settings was really nice. The build quality on these and size, again, there were 3 products, the Vortex, the Revic, and the SIG that were the same size and the same weight. So this is in that small class as well. We thought it held up pretty well there. And then from an X Factor standpoint, this is a fine product. Again, this is fairly middle of the road there. It wasn't an unimpressive product, but nothing about it really blew our doors off. All that to say about the SIG, this is that guy that's looking for a little bit more tech, isn't a glass snob, and wants to do it with a little bit of value built in. So if you want a little more tech than the Vortex and don't want to spend a mountain more, check this one out. As a bonus piece, we do have reason to believe that we don't know any real details, so don't ask us, that there could be a next generation of this coming sooner rather than later. That's what we've got for the 10Ks. The next binos we're going to talk about are the Revic Acura LR10bs. These are relatively new to the market. To be honest with you, they were not on our radar when we started putting together this test. But as we started teasing that this was happening, people lit up the comment section, said you have to have the new Revic. Revic reached out to us and said, hey, we're happy to send you a pair for this test. Look through them, let us know what you think, include them, and we're happy with it. So as we move up our kind of price tier, these are $2,700. That is pretty middle of the road, I would call it, for this test. It's the 3rd out of 6. The glass part of this, for the size of this product, we had 3 laser rangefinder binos that were in this small class. Of those 3, the Revic has the best glass pretty noticeably. Now, when you compare it to bigger footprint items, there are some places where you can start to draw a distinction. It's worth noting on these with the tech, you do get a couple extra buttons here, which is nice, but most of the tech in these that was impressive is reading about what you can do in the app. You can line these things up with, let's say, a pre-lasered ballistic turret, if you've got one of those on your Optic. There's a lot that Revic built in here that is super related to the hunting world. That's true to Revic's brand. They want to build smart products for a high-level long-range hunter, and I think think they've done that fairly well here. And then we're going to talk also about build. This thing's pretty small. Zach made a good point that if you're buying a harness to put these in as you go out on a hunt, you're probably buying an entire size smaller harness than you are with the Vector, the Leica, or the Swaro. For a hunter that is very hunting focused, that wants something that has tech but is pretty simplified and wants to be safely under $3,000, we think the Revic's pretty cool. As far as X Factor goes, these were a little better than average. We kind of thought, there was a little to this where it was a, wow, I don't know that I expected that. So good on Revic. As far as a hyper-specific hunting product, this is very much worthwhile. The next product we're going to talk about is the Vector X. This was kind of why we started this whole test, is we knew these were coming to the market. We really liked them, but we wanted to provide context about other items in the market. The price point here, you're at $2,800 for the 10X, $2,900 if you go to the 12X, and then you can add the range extenders, which give you 40% more power for an extra $600. In that price point, you're fairly middle of the road compared to what we have on the table. As far as glass goes, we would consider these excellent. The Leicas and the Swaros were maybe a touch brighter, though the resolution on these was very good, being able to find those impacts on targets at distance. The color management of these was very, very good. The field of view was very nice. We would consider these as good as anything but maybe the Swarovskis as far as the glass quality goes from a holistic picture. Tech is a huge part of the story here. So several build-ins that they've got, the way that the data is displayed to you in a heads-up unit that has a lot of data and is very feature-rich. Nothing's close to this on the market. You've got the D-pad, which allows you to navigate through that tech pretty easily. We've got etched aiming point as well as etched milling reticles. Some of these units will have one reticle that's meant for native power only. Others will have two reticles, one meant for native power, one meant for enhanced power. So you've got a lot of options there. We think that what Vectronics has done, and we've got a long review about these that you can find in the description or in the comments, we think they nailed it with tech. With build quality, these are a little bigger than our small line, but not much. They're a little heavier than those, but not much. They are still meaningfully smaller than the Leica or the Swarovski, and are between those two others on weight. And when we get to X Factor, this is another place where the Vector X is, we talk about with all the versatility, really gets to people. As we would hand these to people that have spent a lot of time behind good glass or behind binos, we'd hand them the range enhancers, we'd let them work through the menus and the D-pads. What's happening here with the Vector X is substantially different than the others. And as you pick it up and you play with it, I encourage you to get behind a set of these and know what they've really got going on. So if you're a person that wants one set of binoculars that can do a lot of things exceptionally well, you like nice glass, you like nice tech, you want something that is different in the way that it functions and everything else, unashamedly huge fans of what Vectronics has going on here with the Vector X. The next product we're going to talk about is the Leica Geovid Pro. These are relatively new to the market, and right now they're selling for about $3,500. I'm unsure if that price is stable long-term or if it'll settle over time, but as of right now, these are at the top along with Swarovski on price. When we get into glass, this is where the Leica is going to shine. It is an exceptionally bright picture. We think that there may be some places where other things challenge it with resolution or with color clarity, but it's a big, nice, bright picture that you're going to get through the Optic. As far as tech goes, there's some cool things built into the Leica. They have a WES analysis for hit probability. They have the ability for over-the-air updates through their app, so the product can continue to grow over time technologically. But the interface is very simplified. It's your aiming dot as well as basically two pieces of data. They have two buttons, and we thought their ability to control the menu in the interface was okay. So from a tech standpoint, these are somewhat middle of the road, maybe a little better with some more computing power. From a tech standpoint, you're not buying these because of the tech, at least in our opinion. As we get into build quality, they're really well made, they're nicely made, they feel good in the hand, but they are big and they are heavy. Compared to our smaller class of product that are all the same size and weight, these are something like 5 ounces heavier, 4.5 ounces heavier, and more than an inch longer. So if size or putting these in a chest rig to take on a hunt is a paramount concern, understand that these are a full step bigger. Finally, we're going to talk about X Factor here. There was a lot of build up to these showing up, and when you look through them for the first time, they deliver, but in context relative to the tech with products or the gold standard of glass Swarovski that we'll get to next, we thought these were pretty nice, but nothing about them really blew us away. If you are a person that is going to get more out of maybe that WES analysis, or you are looking for something very specific, there are some cool features in the Leica. I think a lot of people will be happy with it. Again, it's not something that shook us when we got a hold of it, but we think it's a good product from Leica. Finally, we talk about what we consider the gold standard in glass, Swarovski. This is their new EL Range 10-42. This guy's retailing at $3,500, just like the Leica. That is the top end of the price bracket here. But when we talk about glass, Swarovski, because they have been making the clearest, most high quality glass in their products consistently for a very long time. When we put everything next to one another and we started really nitpicking, it became obvious to us that the Swarovski is the glass snob's product. It is ultra bright. The color is very, very good. Your field of view and your edge-to-edge clarity is all there. Resolution's great. Chromatic aberration's very low. Swarovski makes a terrific glass product. Talking about tech, however, this remains in that simplified side, and having two buttons, one of which is kind of hidden under the bottom. Navigating that tech was not maybe the simplest part of the process. So if we were to provide feedback for what this product should do better next time, it's how is their tech brought through. You do have a ballistic calculator in here, but it is a proprietary to Swarovski ballistic calculator. It's not a name brand like an Applied Ballistics or a Fordoff. We have no reason to believe that the ballistic calculator is not good. They do have tracking assist, which we think is a cool piece of tech, where it will retain where you were aiming as well as when it was hit, where you are currently, and if you want the app after you laze something to walk you to one of the last locations that you lazed, it'll walk you right to it. If you're hunting specifically in brush or you're in an unfamiliar area and you don't have a great idea of exactly where you're going, the tracking assist in this is a cool product. From a build standpoint, this is bigger than that small unit size, but not as big as the Leica. It is a little bit heavier than the small size, but is still a touch lighter than the Vector and a couple ounces lighter than the Leica. This is a very high quality, simplified product. It's exactly what you would expect from Swarovski. And for that reason, the X Factor, it wasn't anything unexpected. Given the price point on these and what you expect, everyone's going to be impressed by them, but no one is going to be shocked by them. So they're going to get kind of a mid-grade here in X Factor as well. We're a little bit into this, and we've kind of gone through what we consider the top lines for each of these 6 products. We have a product in the Vortex for somebody just getting into it that wants to be more budget conscious. In the SIG, we have a little bit of an upgrade that gets you a fair amount more tech, but we've got some kind of touch in the glass. The Revic is something that if you're looking for the best glass that you can possibly get into in that small footprint, it's a cool product. The Vector to us is the whoa product here. It's in the mid-range on price, but you have the tech integration that is so good, and the ability to add those range enhancers that gives you more versatility or X factor than you do in other things. With the Leica, you've got a bigger but albeit really nice glass product with some cool tech integration, and we'll see where they go with it, as well as the industry standard, the gold standard for what glass ought to be with Swarovski and their product. So we are sure you will have opinions about this. You'll have questions. You'll have things that you agree with or don't agree with. Drop them in the comments below. We may come back to this depending on comments, depending on the feedback we get. We could do an hour long or a 2 hour long, a very long podcast or video cast as to what's going on with these, the little nuances we saw different, because distilling these down into a short-ish video was difficult. All of these products are worthwhile in their own right. Thanks for stopping by and sticking with us on this, and until next time.